The Awakening. Arya's fingers traced the edges of the strange triangular pendant, feeling its ancient power thrumming beneath her touch. The black and gold talisman had been passed down through generations of her family, but only now, on her 16th birthday, was she deemed ready to become its keeper. "Remember, Arya," her grandmother had whispered, pressing the heavy amulet into her palm. "With great power comes great responsibility. This talisman holds secrets beyond your imagination. Use it wisely." Now, alone in her room, Arya studied the intricate symbols etched into the metal. A triangle encased what looked like a two-headed eagle or phoenix at the center. Surrounding it were circles filled with arcane writing and mystical signs. The longer she stared, the more the markings seemed to shift and dance before her eyes. A sudden gust of wind swept through the room, though her windows were closed. The talisman grew warm in her hand. Arya gasped as a shimmering portal opened before her, swirling with golden light. Without thinking, she stepped through. Arya found herself standing in a sun-dappled forest clearing. Ancient trees towered overhead, their leaves whispering secrets in the breeze. A crumbling stone archway, covered in familiar symbols, stood at the center of the clearing. "Welcome, Keeper," said a voice behind her. Arya whirled to see a wizened older man emerge from the trees. He wore flowing robes embroidered with mystical signs that matched her talisman. "I am Thorn, guardian of this realm," he said, bowing slightly. "We have waited many years for your arrival." "I don't understand," Arya said. "Where am I? What is this place?" Thorn's eyes twinkled. "This is the hidden world of Ether, young one. It is a realm of magic that exists alongside your own. For centuries, keepers like yourself have watched over the boundaries between worlds, maintaining the cosmic balance." He gestured to her pendant. "That talisman is the key to unlocking your true potential as a keeper. But first you must learn to harness its power." Over the next few weeks, Arya split her time between her everyday life and secret lessons with Thorn in Ether. She learned to channel energy through the talisman, bending the very fabric of reality. Under Thorn's guidance, she practiced opening portals, manipulating the elements, and catching glimpses of possible futures. But a shadow loomed over her training. Thorn spoke in hushed tones of a growing darkness, an ancient evil stirring once more. He warned, "The Order of the Eternal Flame seeks to break down the walls between worlds. If they succeed, chaos will reign. You may be the only one who can stop them." Arya's head spun. How could she possibly bear such a burden? She was just a typical teenager, not some prophesied savior. Yet as her powers grew, so too did her confidence. She found herself drawn to her new role as keeper, feeling for the first time that she truly belonged. Everything changed the day the sky turned blood red. Arya was walking home from school when it happened. The air crackled with dark energy as clouds roiled overhead. People screamed and ran for cover as shadows materialized in the streets, hooded figures wielding crackling obsidian blades. The Order of the Eternal Flame had begun their attack. Without hesitation, Arya ducked into an alley and activated her talisman. Golden light enveloped her as her clothes transformed into shimmering robes like thorns. She stepped out to face the invaders, power surging through her veins. "Leave this realm," she commanded, her voice ringing with authority. "You do not belong here." The nearest hooded figure laughed coldly. "Foolish child. You cannot hope to stand against us." He lunged at her, blade flashing. But Arya was ready. She raised her hand, and a shimmering barrier sprang up between them. The assassin's weapon glanced harmlessly off the shield. More shadow creatures poured through rifts in reality all around. Arya knew she couldn't fight them all alone, she needed help. Closing her eyes, she focused on the talisman's energy. In her mind, she reached out across the veil between worlds, calling to her mentor. Thorn. Ether is under attack. We need you. Moments later, a familiar archway shimmered into existence. Thorn emerged, flanked by a group of robed figures, other keepers from Ether. "Well done, Arya," Thorn said proudly. "Now, let us show these invaders the true power of the Keepers." What followed was a battle, unlike anything Arya had ever imagined. Magic crackled, as Keepers and Shadow Assassins clashed in the streets. Arya moved on instinct, weaving protection spells and launching bolts of golden energy at her foes. But the Order's forces were vast. For every shadowy figure they defeated, two more seemed to take its place. Arya's powers were draining rapidly, as she struggled to hold the line. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Arya felt a surge of energy from her talisman. The triangle at its center began to glow brightly. Acting on pure instinct, she raised the amulet high. "Keepers of Ether, lend me your strength." A beam of light shot from the talisman into the sky. Similar beams arose from the other keepers' talismans, converging high above. The light grew blindingly bright, then exploded outward in a shockwave of pure energy. When Arya's vision cleared, the shadow creatures were gone. The rifts had sealed themselves, and the sky was once again a calm blue. She sagged with exhaustion, barely registering Thorn's supportive hand on her shoulder. "You've done it, Arya," he said softly. "You've saved both our worlds." In the following days, Arya helped the other keepers restore order and erase evidence of the supernatural battle. To most, it would be remembered only as a freak storm. But Arya knew the truth. She had glimpsed the vastness of the multiverse and her place within it. Now, there was no going back to her old life. As she stood on a hilltop overlooking her town, Thorn approached. "The Order is defeated for now," he said, "but they will return. There is much work yet to be done." Arya nodded, a familiar determination settling over her. "Then we'll be ready. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Thorn smiled. "Indeed we will. But first, I believe you have some training to finish." With a gesture, he opened a portal to the forest clearing in Ether. Arya stepped through without hesitation, ready to embrace her destiny as Keeper of Worlds. The talisman glowed warmly against Arya's chest as the portal closed behind them. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she felt truly alive for the first time in her life. A new chapter was beginning, filled with magic, danger, and limitless possibilities. And Arya couldn't wait to see where it would lead. Epilogue. Months passed, and Arya grew more assertive in her powers each day. She learned to balance her duties as a keeper with her life in the human world, though keeping such monumental secrets from her friends and family weighed heavily at times. Arya sat in her favorite spot by the lake on a crisp autumn evening, idly running her fingers over the talisman. Its familiar warmth brought comfort as she reflected on how much her life had changed. A rustling in the bushes snapped her out of her reverie. She tensed, ready to summon her powers if needed. But instead of a threat, a young man about her age stumbled into the clearing. He froze when he saw her, eyes wide with fear and awe. "You're her, aren't you?" he breathed. "The girl who saved us all during the storm." Arya's heart raced. How could he possibly remember? The boy reached into his shirt and pulled out his pendant, not as ornate as Arya's talisman but unmistakably magical. "I've been searching for you," he said. "There are others like us out there, those who remember, those with powers they don't understand. We need your help." For a moment, Arya hesitated. She thought of Thorn's warnings about maintaining the balance between worlds. But as she met the boy's pleading gaze, she knew what to do. Standing, she offered him a smile and extended her hand. "My name is Arya," she said. "And I think it's time we talked." Arya felt a renewed sense of purpose as they walked along the lakeshore. She might be young, but she was a keeper of worlds. And if others needed guidance, she would also find a way to help them. The talisman hummed with approval against her skin. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Arya knew her journey was far from over. It was only just beginning.